Hey everyone, this is going to be a tutorial showing you how to edit the 5 facts video so that way you have you on screen, text, other things. In front of me I have my script over here and I have all my files over here. Here's my video files, here's my images. I've already gone out and I've collected all my images. You don't have to do it ahead of time, but I did it so I'm organized for this tutorial, and I got a little music bed here that I'm going to play at the beginning and end of my video. Great thing to have up is the actual assignment itself so I can see all my requirements. I need a title card, lower thirds, on-screen text, all this stuff. This is all things I'm going to need to make sure I have the completed project done correctly. So I'm going to minimize that for now, and let's go ahead and open up Premiere Pro. Okay, so from here I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. And first we're going to change the location of where we're saving that to. I always do that first, even before I give it a name, just to force a habit at this point. So I'm going to go to my external hard drive, find the proper folder for it, which should be this one in the 5 facts folder. So I'm going to choose that, hit choose. I'm going to call this 5 facts Blazing Saddles, and hit OK. Okay, now first thing is to get my media in here. I'm going to do the cheat way where I can just go in here, highlight my folders, and drag them in. So in my video, I actually have two different video files here. One is the correct one is a side shot for an example. I recorded the full version of me doing this straight on and a side shot so you can see my setup. Click on this link over here to see that if you want to see how to do this if you haven't done it already. But I really just need this one shot here. And what we're going to do now is, again, I'm going to show you the easy way to make a sequence is I can just right click on the file itself and I can say new sequence from clip and it'll create a sequence. So here it is. Now I'm actually going to delete what I put in there. I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to rename this sequence 5 facts Blazing Saddles. So Blazing Saddles is the topic I'm covering, and I did not spell that right. You see there. Let's fix that. And I'm going to drag this outside the bin. I want this by itself over here. And now you can see I have in my source window here, this is my video. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go through here and I'm going to find the start here.
In 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Keith, and here are 5 facts about Blazing Saddles.
So there's the first segment. That's it. 5 facts about Blazing Saddles. Let's put that down below. I'm going to use the comma key to insert it in my timeline, and then let's play again.
The origins of Blazing Saddles are from a script called Tex X, written by Andrew Bergman. The name was a reference to Texas and Malcolm X.
So let's come back here. So I'm going to mark in.
The origins of Blazing Saddles are from a script called Tex X, written by Andrew Bergman. The name was a reference to Texas and Malcolm X. In this version, the sheriff was to be played by James Earl Jones. But like most things in Hollywood, this didn't really go anywhere. But Mel Brooks loved the script so much that he bought the rights to it.
So that's the end of that fact. Put that down again. So I'm just marking my in and out on my source window here by hitting the I and the O key. And then when I have it, I'm going to hit the comma key on my keyboard, and that brings it down to the next spot. And you can see the playhead automatically advances every time I do that. Come back to my source window here. Find that next start.
The liberal use of the N-word in this film might be a shock to today's audience. In fact, Mel Brooks often said that it'd be hard to make this film today. The studio was often pushing back against it, but Brooks received constant support from fellow writer Richard Pryor and cast member Cleavon Little, who played the sheriff.
And that's the end of that. So we'll exit that out. I'm never too worried about being perfect on my cuts just yet. I'm just trying to get this all in here. We have the whole thing down here. So we can zoom in. And before I even do anything else to it, we're just going to watch it to check out our cuts.
Hi, I'm Keith, and here are 5 facts about Blazing Saddles.
So we can already see we need to cut there.
About Blazing Saddles.
because I didn't give myself time after I said blazing saddles.
Saddles. Blazing saddles.
So I'm going to do a ripple edit tool. So I'm going to grab my third tool here. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click and drag it to the left. Do a little ripple
Facts
edit.
about blazing saddles. The origins of blazing saddles.
Now I can also do this.
Blazing saddles. The origins of blazing saddles are from a script called Tex X, written by Andrew Bergman. But Mel Brooks loved the script so much that he bought the rights to it.
So again, I see myself going to touch the computer right after I finish, so
Rights to it.
I'm going to bring this back just a little bit.
John Wayne was offered the role of the Waco Kid, but he declined it, saying that the film was too blue for his family-oriented image. However, he would be first in line at the premiere. It was originally
See, I cut too late there, so I'm going to ripple out.
originally cast as the Waco Kid. However, his history
I had a bad cut there. I'm just, again, using my ripple tool, my ripple edit tool, just to move it about.
first in line at the premiere. Gigan was originally cast as the Waco Kid. However, his history of drinking made that a little bit of a problem, since he collapsed during the filming of his very first scene.
So there we go. We have the basics. I did a really quick basic cut. I always go back, I press my V key to go back just to my move tool so I don't mess anything up by accident. And now we need to start adding things in. So again, we go back to our requirements list. We need a title card, we need a lower third, we need on-screen text, over the shoulder, all this stuff. And I'm going to do very basic. You can get very creative with this. I hope you get creative with this, but I just want to show you the basics of how to do some of the simple things in here. And first of all, I'm going to show you one really easy thing. So we have these cuts here, and you can even make more cuts. Like I didn't want to go crazy, but you could cut between takes, cut, overlaps the same take. If you have multiple takes of the same sentence and you're cutting in between, you can do that. Anytime I have a single camera here, and I'm going to, let's say we want to cover up this edit without using a full screen graphic. Because from here,
5 facts about blazing saddles.
you can see the little jump cut. Now jump cuts are okay sometimes, but let's pretend we didn't want that. I click on it once, and I'm going to come up here to my program window and double click. And now you can see, if you look on the edges, I have little handles. I can actually drag those. Oops, can I grab the corner there? And zoom in a little bit. Whoa. Maybe it's down. And now when we do a cut, watch this.
5 facts about blazing saddles. The origins of blazing saddles are from a
It's a little different now.
Saddles. The origins of blazing saddles.
Instead of being a straight cut on a jump cut in the same area, it looks like we're cutting to a different camera.
The origins of blazing saddles.
And so it kind of looks a little bit better. And I can replicate that. So instead of always having to find it, because now at the end of this, when I cut out,
the liberal use of the N-word in this film,
it cuts back to the full shot. Now if I want to cut back in again, we'll say we want to keep this pattern, in, out, in, out. I'm just going to make sure this clip is highlighted. I'm going to hit Command Copy. And I'm going to come over to this next clip. So I'm going to skip one clip, come over here, and I'm going to go right click on it. And I'm going to come up to the top where it says Paste Attributes. And then I'm not going to change anything here. I'm just going to hit the paste button. I'm going to hit OK. And now we can see this one's also zoomed in. I'm going to do the same thing for this one over here. Click on it, Paste Attributes. OK. This one's zoomed in. Now, you might have already noticed, this one is a little darker than the rest. I'm going to fix this in a moment, but that's because I was using natural light from my window, and a cloud probably went in front of the sun for a moment, just during that one segment. That's the downside of using natural light, is it doesn't stay consistent, especially if you're using sunlight and there's clouds moving about. But I wanted to do a real world example of what you might be doing in your own rooms without any artificial lighting. I was using all natural light for this, and that's why that happened. So now, I said I want a title card. I might do this now, where I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my title card here. The title card doesn't always need to be at the very beginning. You don't have to be at the beginning to be a title card. I'm going to come here, I'm going to come between these two, and I'm going to click on, see this second tool, this Track Select Forward tool? I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to click here. I'm going to just move these over a little bit. I'm going to go back to my Move tool. all I'm doing, I just move them over temporarily. They're not going to stay there. And now I want to go into my images. So I have an images bin here, and I have one. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I'm looking for this one right here. An image I found for Blazing Saddles. So I'm going to bring this in, and I'm going to drop it right there. Now it's a little long when you drop it initially. You can also see I dropped it on track 2. I could drop it in track 1, but I'm trying to be a little, want to do something here with this. So I'm actually going to maybe put it over, a little bit over the first clip there. So if I play
Facts about Blazing Saddles. 5
5
facts
facts about Blazing Saddles. Now you can see that's kind of weird right now. A couple things are happening. One, I'm going to my B-roll, but the B-roll is smaller than my frame because I shot in 4K. This is a 4K scene now. This is probably an HD image. So when we expand it, it might get a little pixelated. That's the downside if you don't have a full-size image. But we're going to work with this anyway. So again, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to double-click on the image itself, and I'm going to make it bigger. I want to fill up the screen with it. Bring it down so that way that's in there. And so now if I play
Blazing Saddles.
Now that's a straight cut. I kind of want to do a little dissolve. I can actually, by default, the dissolve is Shift D on your keyboard. So if I have this highlighted and I hit Shift D, it's going to add a cross dissolve at the beginning and end.
Facts about Blazing Saddles.
Now if you're going to do that, I need to make sure that dissolve is completed before my actual video ends and before the new video starts. So I need to do it like
5 facts
this.
about Blazing Saddles.
Now, because it's still rendering,
The origins of Blazing Saddles.
you can see it hesitates a little bit now. I want to add a title here. I want to add my own title to this, where I'm going to add 5 facts. So it's Blazing Saddles. I'm going to put 5 facts down here, right below them maybe. So I'm just going to I'm going to click on the text tool here, the type tool. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to, hey, I clicked. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Let's undo all that. Make sure I still had this highlighted. I want to make sure nothing's highlighted. Click that text tool and come in here and click. And now you can see I can type. So I'm going to just type 5 facts. Now, that's kind of small, right? Well, I can always expand it and make it bigger. 5 facts. Now, that doesn't look great. That's not the best use of fonts. While this is highlighted here on my top left here, I can always go to Effects Controls. And here are my effects for the font. I can change the font. So if I find a different font I want to use instead, which might be a good idea, I can pick whatever. That's not really a great font either. But you can go through and I can find different fonts that might play a little bit better against this background. Maybe find a font that matches the title of the thing I'm talking about. I'm going to go with something simple, I think. I can also add maybe a drop shadow. So just add a little drop shadow there. I really don't like that font still. I'm not being picky because I don't want to take too much time picking a font, but there we go. 5 facts. I have a font. I'm making sure I'm not covering people's faces. I add a little drop shadow to it just by coming in my effects here, clicking on shadow, and then clicking on this box to choose the color of that shadow. So I just chose black. I can modify it more. There's a lot more stuff I can do in here. Now, one thing I want to make sure, we talked about in class briefly, but I want to make sure anything I put as a title stays within my title safe area. To do that, over here where the wrench is, click on that. I'm going to come down here to where it says safe margins. I'm going to turn on safe margins, and now you see I have an action safe on the outer part and a title safe on the inner part. So that's my title safe area. Now I notice this title goes a little bit outside of it, and I'm going to be okay with that. Oops. Let me click on that. Maybe I can move that over just a little bit. I keep clicking on the wrong thing there. Let's move back just a little bit before my title is there. See, I can't move too far because then you're going to start seeing through to the background. So we're just going to leave it where it was. And I'm going to drag the length of my title to be the same as the graphic. And again, I'm going to hit Shift D to add in that cross dissolve. And now when we watch it,
5 facts about Blazing Saddles.
I did a really simple thing. I just went to, I wrote my script first, and then I really just went into Google image search and searched each person from my script here. And now, so I talked about Andrew Bergman. So watch this.
The name was a reference to Texas.
Oh, first of all, I need to put down my name. I almost forgot about that. So let's put a lower third down here. Now, before I just clicked the title thing and made it, you could do that, or we can always go into our graphics up here. And we can do this in any order. I'm just doing it in order that I'm thinking about it right now. I'm going to go to my graphics, and from here, I'm actually going to type in lower third and hit return. And it's going to show me some pre-made lower thirds that are already in the system that have a lot of different parts to it, and you can hover over them and see little examples of what they look like. And I'm just going to randomly, I'm going to choose, I still like simple. I don't like complicated lower thirds. And maybe I'll choose this one. I'm going to bring this one down. I'm going to bring it down right here.
Are from a script called Text X.
So again, I'm going to click on it, and then top right, we see we have our edit stuff for it. Click on the name here. When I double click on that, you see it highlights it in here, and I can now go even though I call myself Keith in the video, I'll still use my title. So you put your name there in your lower third, and again, we can preview that.
Are from a script called Text X, written by Andrew Bergman. Saddles.
Now,
hi, I'm Keith.
I might actually put it over here, because this is when I say my name.
Hi, I'm Keith, and here are 5 facts about Blazing Saddles.
Because I talk about Andrew Bergman too soon.
Written by Andrew Bergman.
So now, as I was saying, with Andrew Bergman, so I put my lower third in the beginning. Here's my title card so far, and now here's a picture of Andrew Bergman. Because I have it, all my images here. I searched all these ahead of time, so I'm going to bring his image right to here, and we're going to do an OTS now. So I can just click on him and bring him over here. And watch this.
Text X, written by Andrew Bergman. The name was a reference to Texas and Malcolm X. In this version, the sheriff was to be played by James Earl Jones.
Now I have James Earl Jones I'm talking about. So again, let's find James Earl Jones, bring him over here. Now I'm just clicking and dragging and bringing them there. I can be a little bit more precise if I want to.
Bergman. The name was a reference to Texas and Malcolm X. In this version, the sheriff was to be played by James Earl Jones.
Now I actually might want to keep Andrew Bergman all the way until I say James Earl Jones.
In this version, the sheriff was to be played by James Earl Jones. But like most things in Hollywood, this didn't really go anywhere. But Mel Brooks loved the script so much that he bought the rights to it. The liberal use of the N-word in this film might be a shock to today's audience. In fact, Mel Brooks often said that it'd be
Okay, so I'm gonna keep going through this. I'm gonna put Mel Brooks's image up now. So let's see, here's Mel. Again, just click and drag over. Double click on it here. Bring him up over here. Maybe become a little bigger, because Mel Brooks is bigger than life sometimes.
To today's audience. In fact, Mel Brooks often said that it'd be hard to make this film today. The studio was often pushing back against it, but Brooks received constant support from fellow writer Richard Pryor.
Okay, now we're talking about Richard Pryor, so let's get his image up here. And I'm also going to do a double box, because, well, not really a true double box, but we'll put 2 images up, because I'm also going to talk about Cleavon Little at the same time. Put him on track 3. You can see at the end here, I'm just making sure that they cut out at the same time. Now Cleavon's image is pretty big, so let's make it smaller. So I'm going to put Cleavon there. I'm going to put Richard Pryor right here. I might crop that in a moment, but we're going to leave it there like that for a second. So, my first time through, I'm just really placing things. I can come back through afterwards and neaten it up, but I want to play it, see how it looks, then come back and touch up afterwards.
In fact, Mel Brooks often said that it'd be hard to make this film today. The studio was often pushing back against it, but Brooks received constant support from fellow writer Richard Pryor and cast member Cleavon Little, who...
Oh, just gotta move this down. Oops, hit the wrong button there. See, I just need to move it down just a little bit. There we go. I wanted to make sure those two edges were aligned.
From fellow writer Richard Pryor and cast member Cleavon Little, who played the sheriff. John Wayne was offered...
Oh, see, I should cut a little earlier there. I just noticed my, oh, let's go back to our editing tab. I was still in my graphics tab, should be back in my editing tab here. Just want to come back a little bit sooner here, which means I also need to tighten these up just a little bit. I want to make sure all these cuts happen at the same time for this.
Little, who played the sheriff.
Now, we talked about John Wayne. First of all, I talked about how this image, this part of the video is a little darker. Now, I could go in post, I could brighten it up in my my coloring tab, or I could use a full screen image at this point maybe if I wanted to. So let's look. I have John Wayne over here. I'm going to bring John Wayne in, as one does. Now, wow, that's a really small image of John Wayne. Okay, so because I wanted to use a full-size image, I went out and found a larger image of John Wayne in my Google image search. I just made sure I was looking for only large images, and I found one here. So this is going to be John Wayne. I'm going to put it here like this. I'm going to make this cover the entire segment. So it's just going to be a VO basically over this. And it still doesn't reach the edges, so I'm just going to, I can expand it just a little bit. If it was a smaller image, I might do a different trick, but for this, I can do that.
Sheriff. John Wayne was offered the role of the Waco Kid.
Hit Command Save to make sure I got it saved. I just did the backslash key over to return to see the whole timeline here. So those are my basics. Now I'm just going to double check. Where's my fact sheet? Oh, that's John Wayne. Don't want to look at that. I have a title card. I have a lower third. I have on-screen text. I have over the shoulder. I have a full screen image. I didn't do any full screen videos because I don't want to violate copyright necessarily like I did last time I did a Blazing Saddles video. The only other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some music here. And it's a little bit longer than what I need. So actually, I think I will leave the music under the whole thing. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut off the beginning part. Now, there's some more complicated ways of doing this. I'm going to do something very simple right now. I just want it to end at the end and let it start like this at the beginning. And I might put a little dissolve at the beginning. Now, the other thing I need to do is I'm going to have to make this quieter. So let's do a couple of volume things here. First, I'm going to select all of my clips. Let's do this the easy way. I'm going to click and drag this like this. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to audio gain. And I want to normalize my Mac peak to -3. Oops, click there, -3, and hit OK. And now that way if I was too loud anywhere, it's going to make it quieter. If I was too quiet anywhere, it'll make it louder. It's just a way to make a more consistent audio. And now I'm going to click on, now of course, you hear this. That music's far too loud for me to be talking, right? So we can go in here. Now there's two ways. I could click on this white line here and drag it down, or I can, again, right click, go to audio gain, and say, I'm going to set the gain to -18. Just taking a guess. And now let's listen to it.
Hi, I'm Keith, and here are 5 facts about Blazing Saddles.
That's still a little bit too loud, I think. I'm going to go back to audio gain. I'm just going to make it -22.
Hi, I'm Keith, and here are 5 facts about Blazing Saddles.
You can see my meter, the level's at
The
-22.
origins of Blazing Saddles are from a script called Tex X, written by Andrew Bergman.
Now, one thing I might do here, I'm just thinking about this, because I have these cuts here where I'm looking down, you can see these blank spots here. This is where B-roll comes in very handy. If I want to cover up that kind of stuff, now I don't have a video, but I could, instead of making this an OTS, I could make this a full screen graphic where I can, fill out my screen with him, right? But now I also want to do it with James Earl Jones as well when I get to there. So this is going to be a little bit different feel now. Whoa, that's a little bit too big maybe. I don't know. He's James Earl Jones. He's allowed to be bigger than life. I mean, he's Darth Vader after all. Okay, we'll make him a little smaller. So now I cover up those edit points and it looks like this.
X, written by Andrew Bergman. The name was a reference to Texas and Malcolm X. In this version, the sheriff was to be played by James Earl Jones. But like most things in...
Now, with that, watch this. We can even... I'm going to mute the music for a second because we don't need that there. Because I've now covered that up, I'm going to come in here and we're going to actually make this even a little tighter. So I'm going to take my blade tool. I'm going to make a cut here, a cut here, a cut there. Just with my regular arrow, I can bring it here, click on the blank and hit delete. Oh, it's not going to do, I know why. Alright, we're going to do this the manual way. I'm going to show you how to do it old school way. I'm just going to make these little blank spots. I'm just getting rid of the edit points. Because I'm using this B-roll on top, I have these blank spots now, but I still need to move them over. So I can now actually, if I want to, just move this over like that. Move this over to here, make sure they touch. Move this over. Now, of course, I have all this space over here that needs to be moved over now because it doesn't line up to anything. In fact, I even have to move where this edit point is now because I talked about James Earl Jones in a different spot now. Listen.
Malcolm X. In this version, the sheriff was to be played by James Earl Jones.
So I need to have that image sooner, right? So now, let's move this here and move this like this. To get rid of this blank spot here, I'm going to click on there, hit the delete key, and it moves everything over. So that was a little ripple edit. And we can see now I made a couple subcuts inside that one area, inside that one fact, and it should look like this now.
A script called Tex X, written by Andrew Bergman. The name was a reference to Texas and Malcolm X. In this version, the sheriff was to be played by James Earl Jones. But like most things in Hollywood, this didn't really go anywhere. But Mel Brooks loved the script so much that he bought the rights to it.
So this is why usually I put the music in last, because now I had to adjust my music again. I'm going to do one more thing with this full screen graphic. So here's another thing that you can do. Again, I'm going to click on Mr. Bergman here in the timeline. I'm going to go to the beginning of that part of his clip, double click on it. I know I just did a lot of things in weird orders. Go to effects controls. So if you want to add some like little pizzazz to this, instead of it just being a stationary image, I could come in here. So I've double click on the image in the timeline. In the top left, I go to my effects controls, and I have some different options. I can move it. So I have positioning here. I can also change the size of it. So I'm just going to do something simple. I'm going to move it, right? So here's my starting position. I'm going to hit the little stopwatch icon here, and it created a keyframe right here. It's created a little keyframe. And now when I go to the end, I'm going to bring my mouse to the end here, and I'm just going to move this. I click in here and move it a little bit. And you'll see it made another keyframe. I want to make sure this keyframe is all the way at the end. And if we watch it back now.
Written by Andrew Bergman. The name was a reference to Texas and Malcolm X. In this version, the sheriff was to be played by...
We added a little bit of movement there. So here, I'm going to do that again with Mr. Jones here. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to double click on the image and the timeline. On the top left, I'm going to go to Effects Controls. And I'm going to mark a starting position by clicking this little stopwatch icon on position. It's going to create a keyframe. Now this keyframe right now is not at the very beginning of the clip. In fact, you can move it around where it is. I want it to be at the very beginning, so I'm just going to click and drag it. And then I'm going to come back to the image on my screen here on the program monitor, double click it, and I'm just going to maybe move it this way a little bit. I don't know. Or like that, right? Not too much. And that automatically, now that I've already created the first keyframe, it automatically creates another one anytime I move something. I want to make sure this is at the very end of the clip so I don't have any stoppage of movement. I can also do this with the size, that the scale is. I can zoom in and out while it's moving. Right now I'm just putting simple movement on it so it looks like this.
Played by James Earl Jones. But like most things in Hollywood, this didn't really go anywhere. But Mel Brooks loved the script so much that
and that's what it's going to look like. So now I have two images back to back with movement.
Bergman. The name was a reference to Texas.
And you can see I also move them in opposite directions. I don't want to keep moving everything in the same direction every time.
But like most things in Hollywood, this didn't really go anywhere. But Mel Brooks loved the script so much that
so I'm just going to cinch up my audio here. I want that to align it to the end. Bring that back out. So now, let's bring this to the beginning. Let's watch the whole thing.
Hi, I'm here. House. The origin of House was called Texas, written by Andrew Bird. The name was Texas, and this version played by James Earl Jones. But like most things in Hollywood, this didn't really go anywhere. But Mel Brooks loved the script so much that he called it. The movies and when he talked to his audience, and what was
Alright, one thing I want to do, I'm going to actually re-increase the audio on my tracks. So this seems a little low. So I'm just going back in here. I'm going to adjust gain, set max P to 0. Let's see how that sounds.
It's hard to make this film today. The studio was often pushing back against it, but Brooks received constant support.
I'm going to come back and just adjust my audio level for the music again. I want to bring that down. We're going to go back. We're going to go negative 26.
From fellow writer Richard Pryor and cast member Cleavon Little, who played the sheriff. Johnny was offered the role of Wicked, but he hides in the film's two bloopers and one image. However, he was first line premiere. He was originally cast as Wicked. However, his sister didn't get a little problem. City Collapse filming his very first scene. Neither knew Wicked, the film. He called G. Wilder, who flew out very nice. The studio editors were not happy with the film first. Very hard screens were very few laughs. They were ready to film kind of lost. They decided to do a release in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. After that, we ended up being the studio's number one that summer. For my niner, I'm cute. This is 5 facts about his house.
Okay, so that's pretty good. Some other things you might want to do here is like maybe put a text underneath each of these OTSs. So because I say Gig Young really fast, you might not have heard Gig Young. So that's where I can come in here with a text and just type in Gig Young. And I can center this up to that image there. Make sure it's the same distance as that OTS.
Gig Young was originally cast as the Waco Kid.
Maybe I do that for all of these. And now once you have all your lower thirds done, your title card, your OTSs, your full screens, all that stuff, and you like it, watch it again, see if there's anything else you want to edit. Once you're satisfied with it, we're going to go over here to File, Export Media. I'm going to change this to H.264. I'm going to leave it as match source bitrate. And I'm going to click on the name, output name. That way I know where it's going to save to, because right now it's going to go to the wrong place. So I want to go here. Again, like I said, I always probably make an exports folder within my projects. Just helps keep organized. Hit save and then export. And now that's exporting. Once you're done, you're going to upload it to YouTube and then put it on your website. And that'll be it. So it's going to go on your videos page on your website. And that's the end of the project. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Again, watch the other video about how to record your video if you haven't done that already, or if you need help with it. And I look forward to watching everyone's videos in class.